first of all, the neighborhood that this abuts is absolutely gorgeous. And the large lot homes that are there, I think need to be considered and protected.
The issue here today is the density, which I understand the homeowner's problem.
I think what we're trying to do is do a design as opposed to a density.
They just want houses that are compatible to where they are.
I want to make sure it fits into the community in a fashion that doesn't destroy property values for the adjacent property owner.
You have the ability to do different types of lot sizes.
Yes.
What I'm trying to create is a residential buffer that is not an acre in size perhaps, but a large lot that is their buffer between their communities.
Developer come back and paint a picture. Take that and decide on a density today, come back and show us what you can do, work together with the residents, and then we come back here at adoption, and if we don't like it, we don't adopt it.
And if it's some two-story structures along Southern Boulevard, but half-acre lots adjacent to you or more and adjacent to the west side, then we should be able to, I think that's what at least I'm looking for.
I do think that whatever we do, there needs to be consideration. The larger lots need to be along the outside of this so that the transition is smoother. And I think that those lots also should be limited in height to two-story homes.
Quite frankly, before adoption, if you could have an actual site plan to bring to us before we vote on adoption so we can make sure those residents are protected.
We will do that.
Also, and I know Bob knows this, sit down with the neighborhood so you can show that as residential transitional buffer, I think is a better option.
I'll make a motion to transmit at 5 to an acre and let the developer come back with something that satisfies the community and satisfies us.
Second.
And with bonus densities and things going in there, I believe you can make it a workable project.
There is a motion by Commissioner Aronson, a second by Commissioner McCarty, with the goal being as a residential market-driven buffer between the existing residentials and the more high-density stuff. Bob, I don't know how you're going to do it. Commissioner Coons, you have the floor, sir.
I agree with that.
You have this gorgeous neighborhood behind it that needs to be considered.
We have an issue with people that don't keep their word with us, so we try to set a higher standard.
Whatever the county would allow us to use and the board directs us to do, we're more than happy to do.
That's a commitment. If we said something publicly, it's a commitment. It's not an expectation.
Now it's time for us to honor our part of it. And so, and I'm a big one for honoring what we say.
It was transmitted with a multi-residential 5-unit per acre land use, 6-1 with Commissioner Massalotti dissenting. It's back.
And also, there was a recommendation by the board for the applicant to bring back a site plan showing single-family homes in the surrounding area.
That's correct. How they were going to buffer the existing residents, what the units would look like, how they would limit the height of the units and issues like that.
For the record, Bob Bentz with Land Design South, representing the Cheney Ranch as our first request on the southeast corner, as you all know, Southern Boulevard and Jog. As we discussed when we were transmitted by the board, and really what you're looking to see today are site plan options, and we have 2 of them for you to review. The first option, we have identified within it a transitional buffer. This buffer has an increased landscape area separating our property from the neighbor's property.
On the picture that you're showing up there, you got all these trees that look like they're above the roof of the buildings. Are those the kind of trees you're going to be planting? Because generally, maybe in 100 years.
I mean, your minimum tree is 14 feet. Top of a 6-foot berm, that's 20 feet right there.
Not if you're talking 3-story.
I have 25 behind us, and it's not that far. It's not that big, especially when you get the berm in there and all that stuff.
The next is option number 2. This is the second plan that we have prepared, and the reason we prepared this plan is we have identified some single-family homes along the southern boundary of the site. We have reduced the length of these townhouse buildings, and we've taken the areas adjacent to the neighborhood in these 3 areas, and we have added in single-family homes abutting the neighbor's properties.
There are board members here that were on your tape saying they wanted big lots. You need to find out what that means, because I'm not going to interpret it myself.
We did that, sir. We looked at that, and it was the minimum size in our area was what we would call a big lot, and it's less than 1/2 acre. That's our
Okay.
definition of a big lot, sir.
So half acre is your little less, 20,000 square feet. Was that the number you used before?
That's the yes, that's the LR1.
Mr. Bentz, what is those large lots?
On our latest plan, with the lots down there, they're about 4,500 square feet, 5,000 square feet. They're small lots.
So I don't know how the rest of this board feels about that being the large lots that they asked for protection on.
You know, I think it was very clear what the board's direction was large lot, and as you're saying, Bob, it was really small lots that were being proposed. I just think we ought to be consistent with what we said last time, and if that's not agreeable, then we need to not go through with this.
I think the two plans that were presented by Mr. Benz today are self-serving. The second one being a terrible plan, which only is an attempt to enhance his first plan.
If they're going to look in the back of something, they wanted to look in the back of somebody else's backyard, not into some, you know, complex.
This property is within the city's future annexation area and potentially has an impact on existing residents of the city and certainly future potential residents. The proposal is not compatible with the area. All the surrounding properties on the south and east side are one dwelling unit per acre, future land use designation. The proposal would be a relatively sharp density gradient.
Initially, the density increase was the main point of contention with this application. However, this has evolved to include two additional points: the large lot residential transitional buffer along the south and east sides of the site, and the limitation of structure height to 2 stories.
Anyway, I just don't think this is about trying to cram the density. And once you adopt this, they are going to be saying they have a right to 104 units, and we then need to design around their 104 units. And I'm not ready to do that today.
At one point, I just told them we're at an impasse because they were not listening to any of our suggestions. They were sticking to, we got 104 units, that's what we're putting in there. They didn't want to change the 3-story, didn't want to put the big lots on the outer edge. They were not willing to work with us. They had their site plan, that's what they wanted to do. Done.
I mean, first off, as far as being non-bendable, that is the farthest from the truth. I have generated 6 site plans of this property, of which 4 of them were townhouse layouts and 2 of them were single-family layout plans.
I really would have preferred they come in with a design that followed our direction instead of ignoring our direction, which may have been why there was a standoff from the residents, since the residents had a right to expect that the property owner was going to work with them on what our direction was. That never happened. So you may have come in with 100 plans, Bob, but not one of them followed our direction. So I have a real problem with that.
Mr. Humphreys, when some of your residents think that they hadn't worked with you, is it true they've come up with 4 or 5 different plans?
They have not come up with a plan that showed large lots on the perimeter. That's a fact.
In each of the meetings that we had with them, the applicants and their agent had total and complete disregard for all of the conditions stipulated by this board during that transmittal hearing.
We wanted it limited to 2-story. There's 3-story in there. That was ignored. We asked for large lots on the perimeter. That was ignored because they thought they had a better idea.
We ask that you deny this change because it's incompatible with the area, promotes additional intrusion of high-density residential, and its approval will trigger dramatic changes in the area.
Your vote today will have a profound and everlasting effect on our community and lifestyle.
It may be after we look at it, it's not acceptable to us, but we never were given that opportunity because we weren't given the courtesy of having our direction followed. But apparently a majority of the board don't care about our direction and anybody following it.
I am going to make the motion to approve the
Conceptual plan. Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Aronson, a second by Commissioner Kuhn. So we're going to call a question. All in favor? All opposed? Show the motion passes 5-2.
I wanted to design something that fit in the property, that was a nice transition, that gave them some units, some affordable units, and some balance, but to do it on design, not about the density. And that's what this has been from the beginning. It's all about the density, and that isn't why I bought into this to begin with. So I'm not supporting it.